That's not the way government's supposed to work. We're having, hopefully we won't have exactly the same problem in Virginia. But the thing is, the Bruin decision changed the whole landscape of gun control. Now they have to reach a very high bar to have any kind of constitutional gun control. But that doesn't mean that the other side isn't going crazy and putting in everything they can think of to try to find something that they can continue to take our rights away with. There are 5 gun bills that restrict the right to own a semi-automatic rifle with certain cosmetic features. And it doesn't end there. They want to abolish magazines that hold more than a certain number of rounds. Somehow it matches the number of fingers on our hands. And also suppressors. So I guess they want people practicing in their backyard to make a lot of noise to disturb all their neighbors. They don't want it quiet where the neighbors would be grateful. So they have a bill to punish victims that we're going to be pushing it back against. So if somebody breaks in your car and steals your gun, but your car, you didn't have the gun in a locked box or you didn't have the car locked, let me be clear. When you park your car, if somebody goes in it, they're a criminal. You shouldn't have to lock your car. That shouldn't be a requirement. People need to keep the heck out of your vehicle and stop burglarizing homes and everything else. But if you don't have 2 sets of locks, either a locked car and a locked box, you can be fined $500 and they can tow your car away. So you had your gun stolen, now you had your car stolen. So that's all ridiculous, but that's the kind of stuff we're seeing. But we've got some good bills going in there that we're going to be fighting for. We got a bill to get rid of some of these gun-free zones that localities can pass. Right now, 17 localities are banning your ability to carry in a park. Really? The Supreme Court's already said that such a ban is unconstitutional, and there's a judge has agreed and struck down that. And also the restriction that localities can do that says you can't go to a permitted event and carry. I don't know if you've ever really looked carefully at that law, but there's no way to know if there's a permitted event or should have been permitted event and exactly where the borders are and where the signs go. It's just a confusing mess, and it's totally unconstitutional. And that got struck down in the city of Winchester. Winchester backed off and got rid of those 2 things. We want to restore our ability to carry here in the General Assembly, at state agencies. Really, the ABC is a sensitive government location? I don't think so, nor is DMV. We want to have constitutional carry. Think about that, So you legally have a gun that you bought. You bought a gun legally. You are allowed, you can have that gun because you're not a criminal. And as long as you're not wearing a coat, you can walk around with that gun, no problem. But as soon as you put on a coat, that's when the world changes. Now you got to have training. Now you got to pay a fee. Now you've got to make this application, the whole bit. That's crazy just because you put a coat on. And that's all it boils down to. It's the same person, same gun, same everything, but you put a coat on, and now they want to make you jump through hoops. And those hoops can take 45 days. And if somebody's in an emergency situation, maybe an ex-spouse has threatened somebody and they need a gun now, they can open carry it, but that's not the best solution. So we've got some bills to do that. We've been trying this for years. We're going to keep doing it. There are 25 states that have done this. Half of America has this. And little old Virginia's sitting here, have not passed that yet. And finally, we definitely want to get rid of the red flag law. It was struck down in New York, of all places, and we're seeing the laws getting struck down in New Jersey and California. And if the General Assembly doesn't cooperate, we'll be striking them down in the courts here like we've already started. These things are going to go away, guys. But the reason they struck it down in New York was because they said there's no mental health person involved. Somebody comes up and says, well, I think that person is suicidal. Well, okay, well, who are you? How do you know that that's the case? but they take your guns away based upon basically hearsay. No experts involved. Virginia's the same way. So the whole thing is unconstitutional. So we have so we've got a busy agenda. I appreciate you guys being here. We have a host of speakers. I'm going to let the legislators go first because they have to get back over to the General Assembly for caucus and then get ready for the floor session. So first I've got in line would be Delegate John McGuire. John has a 100% voting record. He carries tough bills on guns. He doesn't shy away from them. And I thought it'd be very appropriate to have him lead the day off.
Thank you very much. Let's give Phil Van Cleve and the VCDL a round of applause. I got to tell you, there are a lot of pro-gun organizations out there that protect our Second Amendment, but I don't think anyone does more in Virginia than a VCDL. And I hope that you guys are members, and I hope you get your friends to members to join, because gun owners vote. Let's give them a round of applause. Hey, I'm John McGuire. I've been in the House of Delegates since 2018, and I'm very honored to have a 100 score every year with the VCDL. I don't know what part of shall not be infringed our friends on the other side don't understand. It's our God-given right to protect ourselves, our family, and our children. I've carried some really good bills in the past, but until we get the Republican control of the state Senate, they're not going to pass. We've got to do that. I'm actually running for state Senate now so that we can un-California Virginia. Over the one-party rule, under one-party rule in Virginia, they tried to out-California California with these red flag laws and infringements on our civil liberties. And so I'm working really hard against that. I've got a couple of bills that you guys may have heard of. A few years ago, I put in a bill called Sovereign Immunity. And it basically says that if you get shot in a gun-free zone, you can sue the government. I got letters from all 50 states saying that's the best gun bill you've ever heard of, because we all know there is no such thing as a gun-free zone, and evil does exist. And it's our God-given right to protect ourselves and our family. And I think these gun-free zones are really an effort to make us helpless victims. You know, we're living in a time where we have open borders, and we have enough fentanyl coming over the borders to kill every American. And we want to defund and demean our police and put criminals back on the street. And then when they commit the same crime again, you hear people say, oh, I didn't think they would commit that same crime again. What did you think would happen? And I heard a 911 call the other day where a woman's boyfriend who had a history of assaulting her was banging down the door, and she called 911, and the dispatcher said, hide in the bathroom, we have no one to send. What do you guys think of that? Now listen, I'm much better with a rifle than giving a speech, but I gave a speech on the floor one day when we had Democrat rule, and I said, Madam Speaker, at the time, if a bad guy broke into your home tonight with a gun to kill you and your children, you'd be glad you had a gun. And if a bad guy broke into your home tonight to kill you and your children and you didn't have a gun, you'd wish you had a gun. So it's our God-given right. And I got to tell you, I keep hearing people say we need gun control, gun control. Well, criminals don't care about the law. And you look at Chicago, where they have the strictest gun laws in the nation, and they have the most gun violence. And it's an evil heart situation. We have mental health for sure, but it's an evil heart. Evil does exist. And you look in London, a few years ago, the mayor tried to outlaw knives. So I'm Delegate John McGuire, running for State Senate District 10. It's Hanover, Louisa, Goochland, Powhatan, Amelia, Fluvanna, Cumberland, Buckingham, Appomattox, and a little bit of Prince Edward. So I hope you guys will vote for the Frogman, the Navy SEAL, and let's protect our Second Amendment rights. Thank you for being here today. God bless
you. Okay, so speaking about legislators that have a 100% voting record and carry some tough gun bills, the next speaker is Senator Amanda Chase.
Awesome. Good afternoon, Virginia. Hello. It's an honor to be here, and if you remember, just 2 years ago, we stood in this very place, only about 50 to 80,000 people, depending on whether you're watching the legacy media or reporting the truth, how many people were actually here. And it was such an honor to be here and to speak at that event. So many of you were here. Raise your hand if you were actually here 2 years ago. Absolutely. And that's thanks to the good leadership of President Philip Van Cleve and Pat Webb and the entire VCDL volunteer community. We are so forever ever grateful. Yes, I do have 100% VCDL score lifetime, and I can't believe it, but I've actually been in the state Senate for 8 years. I've voted against every single measure that would take away a law-abiding citizen's ability to protect themselves. I've voted against it every single time. And even, it's so important that you have legislators that are not just Republicans, but who truly live by and support the Second Amendment. Many of you all know I carry. I carry if I'm going to the gym. I carry wherever I'm going. And I really want to dispel this fallacy, this lie that suburban women want gun control, because that is a lie. I am a suburban woman from Chesterfield County, and I do support my ability as a mother to protect my family from criminals that don't care what happens on July 1 and what gun control goes into place, because they're not going to follow it. I'm all against gun violence. But friends, if we would equip law-abiding citizens with a basic fundamental right that's God-given, put in our Constitution, then we wouldn't have many of the crimes that we have today. And I just want to walk us through history for just a moment. If you remember, in 2020, in January, is the very first election in which the Democrat trifecta controlled the state of Virginia. What was the first thing they went after? They went after our gun rights. And then after they went after our gun rights and restricted and implemented, by the way, the localities, giving them the ability to create gun-free zones, which I'm introducing legislation again this year to repeal it. Because we do not need to turn law-abiding citizens into criminals, into felons, because of the patchwork of confusing legislation, which if you're somebody like me who ran statewide and had to keep up with an ordinance, when you're just driving in the course of a couple days, you could end up violating all these laws unintentionally and becoming a criminal, you just simply by carrying. Listen, we want to do our best to create an environment in which law-abiding citizens feel safe, which is also why I am introducing a bill to repeal red flag laws, which, it's un-American. When do you repeal, when do we deny due process in America? I don't think it's right for a government agency to take away my ability to protect myself, and I haven't even been seen by a magistrate or a judge. We see this in other countries, but not America. Well, guess what? I have a Republican running against me that actually, thanks to his support of red flag laws, passed red flag laws here in Virginia. So it's not important that you just vote for a Republican, but you find a Republican that actually fully supports. Not only do I have a 100% rating with VCDL 8 years in a row, an A rating with the NRA, but friends, I carry IPAC every single day, and that's why I understand the legislation and how it affects suburban moms, suburban dads, anywhere you belong. Go back to my story here when I told you the first thing they did is they came after our Second Amendment rights. Who's the second group of people they came after? Our law enforcement. They wanted law enforcement to quit. They wanted to eliminate qualified immunity. And what do you think these law enforcement officers did? We barely pay them what they're worth. And they're like, I can't financially support a liability here. Should I be caught in the line of duty and stripped of my ability to provide for my family? And we had a lot of law enforcement to quit. So they're taking away your guns, taking away your ability to protect yourself, taking away law enforcement. And what does that make us all? They want us to become what? Communism. Do we want to be victims? No. So let's fast forward. The people rise up. Even people who are not politically involved or active got involved in politics like they've never seen before. That's why we saw the huge rally back in 2020. Because whenever you take a person's fundamental right to protect themselves, it's the very next step. Then you have socialism. Because if they can take your guns, then they can take every other constitutional right that you have. And that's why it's so important. It's not just about hunting. It's not just about an exercise. This is about protecting your most basic, fundamental, constitutionally protected right against terrorists, not only just foreign, but domestic. Remember? Domestic. That's why we need the Second Amendment. We've got to protect it. The good news is Governor Youngkin won, and so we took back the governor's mansion. We took back the lieutenant governor, the attorney general. We won back the House. We went from being in reverse to being in neutral. And in order to win again and to go in forward and become Virginia again, we must keep the House, but now we also have to win back the Senate of Virginia. That's what we have to do. But we can't win back the Senate with just any Republican. We need Republicans that actually live, think, and breathe the Second Amendment. God bless you, everyone. And I have a petition here. If you live in Chesterfield, if you live in Colonial Heights, come see me. I'm trying to get my name on the ballot because I need 250 signatures. Come see us over here by the flags, and you can sign the petition to get my name on the ballot because we're going to make Virginia great again. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, she talks the talk but walks the walk. So the next up is Delegate Tim Anderson from the Virginia Beach area, who's been a pro-gun as well and hosting bills and voting rights. So, Tim?
Thank you so much.
Hey. All right.
Good news, I'm a lawyer and I get paid by the hour, so I'm not going to talk very long because Phil hasn't paid me anything to be here. Hey, I wanted to help bring some perspective of what's going to happen in this General Assembly. You know, we've heard from the Virginia Senate that they're the brick wall, right? We've heard that. We saw them kill a lot of legislative priorities last year from Republicans. But what you're going to see this year, the Democrats have dropped a lot of anti-Second Amendment bills. And what you're going to see is this Republican majority in the House stand up to that and kill that in our public safety committees. And so that's a big thing. You're not going to see repeals of all of the laws that have offended us that the Democrats passed in 2020 and 2021, because while we can get them out of our House, they will die in the Senate. But you will see us standing up and stopping more progressive gun control. And at the end of this session, what the session is going to be judged on is not necessarily what we passed, but what we stopped. And it shows you where they want to go, what they want to do. In UVA, where the guy shot his classmates with a handgun in a gun-free zone, the president calls for a semi-automatic rifle ban, right? And so it's this political agenda that we're going to stand up to and stop. And that's what I'm glad to be here and be a part of this team. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Tim. Next is we've got several cases of this in the General Assembly where a person was part of Lobby Day and said, you know what, I can do that too. I can go over and be a legislator. And we've got several cases of that. And one is coming up right now who's extremely pro-gun and is a freshman but came out swinging. And that's A.C. Cardoza.
Hey guys, I'm going to keep it brief because I'm going to keep it brief because we have some gun control bills to kill. I'm on the public safety committee that my colleague just talked about in the firearms committee, and I am glad to have killed many of the bills last year, and I'm going to do the same this year to make sure that this crazy gun control that they're trying to push does not move forward in Virginia.
Yeah.
All right. Like my colleagues have said, we have to get back the Senate because, like she said, we're in neutral. We're not moving forward. We're stopping from going back, but we're not moving forward. And if we take this Senate, we can move forward and we can get Virginia back to the Virginia that we all know and love, where we can carry everywhere without worrying about, am I going to be a felon because I went from Hampton to Newport News or from Richmond to Northern Virginia. And that is ridiculous that we have to worry about that. All right. So guys, I love you guys, and I want to thank you guys because I wouldn't be here without you. I was a VCDL member. I am still, but I was a VCDL member. I went to a gun show. I signed up. I got a ticket to go in faster, and then I got an email that said, "Hey, you need to come out to your local city council and speak on this issue." And I spoke, and they ignored me, and I got mad, so I ran, and now I'm killing their bills on. And we need to do the same thing, okay? So I appreciate you guys. I love you. We're gonna go kill some bills right now. Thank you.
Yeah, you could chant death to gun control bills. Next up, if you live in the Richmond area and you've ever listened to WRVA, that's the powerhouse station, AM station, and they also have an FM version, 1140 AM. In the afternoons, you've heard Jeff Katz. And Jeff really understands liberty and freedom. He understands gun rights. He's a strong advocate, a powerful voice on WRVA, reaching out through Central Virginia. And Jeff is here, and I'm going to have Jeff come up and say some words to you.
Thank you, Phil. It's wonderful to be here. It's always wonderful to be here on Lobby Day. And I've got to tell you, as I'm listening to AC and I'm listening to some of the other folks I know inside the legislature, the reality is exactly what they said. It's about our majority in the House of Delegates stopping some absolutely insane new ideas to disarm the populace. That's what is going to happen in the House of Delegates right now. It's also one of the reasons it's so vital as we head into an election year for both the Senate and the House of Delegates that we elect people who understand what's going on, who have actually read the Constitution, who actually understand that the Second Amendment is not negotiable. This is not something that's given to you one day and taken back another. Those of us who understand true constitutional rights understand these are rights bestowed upon us by God, not the government. It is not the government who gives them, and certainly not the government that takes them away at that point. And so those of us who care about constitutional rights have to remember something. We can't just care about one of those pesky rights. We've got to be concerned with all of them. And we need to reach out to people, quite frankly, who don't own guns, who don't know anything about guns, and frankly have made a decision they don't want a gun in their house. Now that's their decision to make. We have to respect it, even if we disagree with it. But we have to let them know that it's every one of those rights. If they are passionate about that First Amendment, then they have to stand with everybody in VCDL on the Second Amendment. And you and I, as we're passionate about this amendment and that amendment, have to put them all together. And we've got to understand it is about all of these constitutional rights. Stand tall, be strong, and make sure as we head into this year, as I say, we've got to have majorities in both the House of Delegates and the state Senate so that some of the craziness that happened a couple of years ago, and some of us were here 2-3 years ago where we were behind fencing and we were off to the side and it was unbelievable. We have to make sure that we can roll back some of that insanity. The best that we're going to do right now is to blunt some of the new craziness, which is okay, but it's not great. We got to take steps in the upcoming year to get majorities in both those houses. Thanks so much for being here.
Okay, well, VCDL has partnered up for years with Gun Owners of America. In our early days, when we were a fledgling organization back in 1995, we shared, we used some of the machinery to do photocopying and stuff. The GOA, they gave us some guidance as to how to do this and how to get moving forward. And so today we have John Crump from the Gun Owners of America to speak for them. And John also is a journalist and has your own page. He does all kinds of stuff. John Crump.
As Phil said, my name is John Crump. You might know me from my articles at Amaland, my YouTube channel, or my work at GOA, or you might not know me. One thing I want you to know about me is that it is my goal in life to make it hell for everyone that wants to infringe on your constitutional right to bear arms, no matter if they're a politician or they're the FBI, Chuck Schumer, or even the wannabe tyrants here in Richmond, some of them. I want to make their life a living hell if they want to infringe on your God-given, constitutionally protected right to bear arms. Notice I didn't say Second Amendment, because the Second Amendment does not grant us anything. The Second Amendment is part of the Bill of Rights, which is a document of negative liberties. What I mean about that is that it is not giving you rights. It is taking away rights from the government to infringe on your rights. And I think that is lost. There's a lot of good bills that are coming up in this session that we can vote for. We've been on the defensive for so long, but now it might be time to go on a little bit of offense. I'm not saying drop defense at all, because we always have to be ever vigilant, but there's good bills. There's the constitutional carry bill. Right now, half the country has constitutional carry. Florida might be the 26th state to have constitutional carry. And I would want to see Virginia err on the side of freedom and liberty. There's also bills to restore preemption. Right now, Virginians are exposed to a legal minefield of anti-gun zones. They're not gun-free zones, because criminals always have guns, but they're anti-gun zones. Also, right now, Democrats have the majority in the Senate, but that might change soon. But Democrats might not be the roadblock. The roadblock might be Republicans that think that they have the base. There's something called the lesser of two evils fallacy. It says that I'm not as bad as the other person, so therefore I'm going to get the votes of my base. We have to get rid of that. If a Republican goes anti-gun, we have to primary them. If you can't find someone to primary them, you primary them. Right now, 2 years ago, we had thousands of people take to the streets to push back against anti-gun bills. And I think we need to do that ourselves again. Not every Republican is totally anti-gun, or totally pro-gun. Who here likes Jason Mieres?
Yeah.
Well, you might like him, but do you know that he is defending universal background checks vigorously? There's a lawsuit against universal background checks. He could enter into a consent agreement with GOA and VCDL, and universal background checks could be gone overnight. But he has chosen not to do that. He could at least stop defending universal background checks, but he is defending them. I need everyone here to call Jason Mieres and tell him to stop defending universal background checks. Stop taking away your rights. Because the right to private transfer is a God-given right. Our right to bear arms is a God-given right. We are here in the land, the homeland of George Washington, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, George Mason. And they would be so proud of us for taking the steps needed to fight back against all these anti-gun laws. Once again, my name is John Crump. Stay ever vigilant, stay ever free, always keep in the fight, and most of all, remember, Sic Semper Tyrannis. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, we had to drag John all the way down from Northern Virginia. So, next, VCDL has recognized for a while that it's important that we reach as far out as we can. You know, we've always been open to all races, all creeds. We don't care as long as you're an American and you want to carry a gun for peaceful reasons. We're fine with that. We don't care. We never have cared. But we know one place it's missing. We're finally getting more females. And looking at the crowd here, we see a lot more women here. This is wonderful. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. And we're working to try and get more minorities involved. If I was a minority, I certainly would want to be involved based on the history of the United States, you know. And we're getting those, but we're trying to step up. But we're also trying to step up with young adults, college-age people that are in college now and need to understand what their rights are. And it's tough. We've all been that age, and or maybe you're starting a family when you're young or whatever. But so we have created something called VCDLU, VCDL University. And the goal of that will be to reach out to students at universities for a whole host of things, to teach them about gun rights, to teach them, get them to go to the shooting range, to learn firearm safety, all that stuff. So we have Al Evans here, who is heading up the effort of being the one that does the interfacing with the students, sets up the agenda and so forth. So Al's going to speak to you a little bit about VCDL University.
Hey, thank you guys. How are we doing today? It's a great day to be out here, right? Yeah. Awesome. So I am, like Phil was saying, my name is Al Evans. I am a native Richmonder. Grew up right here. Went to Thomas Jefferson High School, Virginia Union University. And I am the new director of VCDL University for student engagement. So a little bit about myself. Like I said, I'm right here from Richmond. My whole family has basically been from the 804 area since pretty much, since off the boat. But when I first learned how to use a gun, I was 9 years old. I have an uncle out in Charles City County, just about an hour east from here, named my Uncle Junior. He has a range in his backyard, and I used to go every summer, and I used to go and shoot with my Uncle Junior. Most kids my age, especially living in Richmond, Virginia today, they don't have people like that to guide, to teach you how to use a firearm, to take you to the range, even if they have a range in their own at their house. They don't have that. So how do we actually get students to be involved? How do we get them to say, yes, the Second Amendment is something that's important. Gun rights are important. Well, we actually have to have instructors teach kids from a young age, high school and college, hey, guns are okay. Let's go to the range. When I was in high school, we had a program called JROTC. It was, basically is affiliated with the military. You go there, you got to, you dress up, you have to do drills and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's basically trying to prepare you for the military. We had a marksmanship team. We would go all around the state, and we would actually compete against other ROTCs and other just other groups as well. Who is the best shooter? If we're in the ROTC, it's got to be us. We can't lose to just a civilian team, right? But even with that instructor, his name was Jim Harding, and he's passed now, RIP, but he was a great instructor, and he really showed us the discipline and the organization that honestly is just missing from a lot of public schools nowadays. But programs like ROTC are getting phased out. That's not at my high school anymore. So if we have a group of people who have never held a gun, have never experienced shooting, have never gone hunting, never even shot like a BB gun, and on top of that, you've got the entire culture telling you, oh, this is bad, the Second Amendment. I remember in 2020 when I was here, back then when we had the huge rally, people were telling me I'm a white supremacist because I want to go to a gun rally. And this is what is going on out in the culture. They're segmenting us into these different groups, and we'll say, hey, if you're over here, if you're black, you cannot support guns. If you're white, then you're a terrorist. We need to get away from all of this. And the way that we do that is first getting towards the students. I believe that children are the future. Treat them well, let them lead the way. But what are we doing right now? We're not. And so we cannot expect different results if we continue to do the same thing. So with VCDLU, what we're planning is 4 main areas that we're trying to focus on. We're focused on legislative internships so that young people can understand how the legislative process happens, so we can get them in the office with legislators, and we can create young activists and lobbyists so that we can have a new generation, for a lobby day, let's say 10 years from now. It goes to civic education as well. The Constitution and civics in general is something that there is a severe a lack of education on. Even if you have a good civics teacher, a lot of times the stuff that you're allowed to teach now isn't necessarily what the Constitution actually says. So we're going to be providing that. We're also going to be doing voter contact is extremely important, because how do we actually get the laws to change? We have to vote. Most people aren't aware even gun owners aren't aware of some of the laws that have been passed. And unless we actually let them know, then again, what do we expect to happen? If people don't know that the laws have been changed and then you get arrested, that's when you find out. So we need to let them know before that happens so they can vote and vote in the correct people with the right ideas. And then the last part, which I think is vital, is the actual marksmanship competition. We want to have young people be able to compete, to be able to shoot, to have that space to shoot. We're going to be working with colleges, high schools all across the Commonwealth. So if you have any groups that would be interested in working with us, please reach out to me or VCDLU, VCDL/VCDLU, to reach out to us. And I want to thank you all again for coming. And I hope to see all of you again soon. And gun owners vote. Thank you all. God bless America. Thank you.
Okay, so one of our executive members ended up moving all the way to Idaho, but he's back. so well, not permanently. He's just visiting for this. He came to Virginia for Lobby Day. And if you live in Tidewater, and you did the gun shows or anything like that, you'd be familiar. Brendan Mooney is the member. He came up here just to help out any way we needed, so he came all the way from Idaho. Brendan?
Hey guys, it feels great being back in beautiful Virginia. I will say one thing. I had no moose in the way when I was coming here, so I don't know how to react. I mean, the traffic was actual cars, so it was a little different. But hey, I want to say that why do I still come back? This is important, not only on a national level, a statewide level, a local level. You know, I still come here and do business here periodically, and I don't want to have to worry about my gun rights or all of our gun rights being strangely, oh, you can't carry this here, can't carry that there. I'm like, no, I'm going to carry where I need to, because I need to carry and defend my life. And what you see out in Idaho versus here is it's part of the culture there. They say, take my gun rights. Are you out of your mind? Like, how are they going to defend against a grizzly bear? Well, okay, that's valid. But that's the big thing about here is we need to make sure, because a lot of people look to Virginia to make sure that we maintain hold of our rights here. Because if Virginia falls, then a lot of people just try and do that. It's all we're up a river. There's no point in fighting. We'll shoot it out. It's like, no, we can still get to the courts. We have means to do so. We have ability to actually get good gun laws passed. We just heard from some good people that want to get some stuff through. I'm all about it. Let's get it done. I mean, if this became constitutional carry, by the way, constitutional carry in Idaho, blend the streets everywhere, all over. No, you can actually in some areas you can carry if you have an enhanced concealed carry permit. You can carry in a school. And look, there's no harm, no foul. And that's the great thing. We have good sheriffs. So, by the way, if you live in a county that has a sheriff, I think everyone does, make sure you elect a good sheriff, okay? Because if, God forbid, something were to pass, sheriffs are the main line to say, you know what, I don't think so today. I think I'm going to have to deputize some of these guys, all right? So, really want to emphasize, get involved. If I can fly out here to Idaho and y'all can weather this, get your other friends to come out. Because it's not, I want this to be filled up next time I'm out here, because I will be out here. So, hey, I want to say thank you all. Hey, let's get some good stuff done this year legislatively.
Okay, and next, another strong supporter of gun rights, and somebody that's running for office, and would be, and thoroughly understands the subject and is an excellent speaker, Leon Benjamin.
God bless everyone, and I want to thank Philip Van Cleve and Pat Webb and all the VCDL patrons and citizens. This is the hour where we really understand how guns save lives. And you need to shout it out real loud today so that the Capitol and the General Assembly and everybody needs to understand if we legislate out our Second Amendment, then we have no more protection over our families, over our children, our communities. And again, I'm Leon Benjamin. I'm running for Congress in a special election because of the passing away of Don McEachin in the 4th Congressional District. And I am persuaded right now that my opponent does not want to save lives. They do not want to protect families. And they do not want to put the money back in our pockets. And we have an opportunity right now, and I talk to a lot of people, that the laws that are being passed, red flag laws, Virginia should be a constitutional carry state. Do you agree? All of these things. I'm a pastor of 20 years. Let me backtrack. I've been married 31 years, and I love women's rights. But understand, I have 3 beautiful kids. My son is right there. So we do need to teach our children about our rights and our laws. It's important. Now I'm going to say this, and I want you to understand, because I'm seeing everything's happening right now today. And as you know, this is Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. If he was here today, he'd be 94 years old, and he would be right in the middle of VCDL. He would be right here, bringing everyone together. This is not a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat thing. This is a God and country and family and guns thing, and we got to get back to the right track and allow ourselves to be a family again, a community again, that does not marginalize our communities. Blacks over there, whites over there, crazy people over there. I mean, whatever. We got to come together, unite, and transcend party lines. This is what my race is all about. February 21st, and trust me, right now, this community right now, Richmond on down to Emporia, needs VCDL to educate us. We need that university. I've taken my son gun shooting. The first time he shot, he like, oh! I said, that's right. That's right. And you need to be responsible before you pull it out. You need to know what it's for. And it's about protecting our families. I have a daycare here of 12 years, lots of kids from all across Richmond. And they need to be protected. These no gun zone laws, all these things. The only thing sometimes that can stop a criminal with a gun, a bad guy with a gun, is a good guy with a gun. So I'm asking, and I see a lot of people out here, so I should at least have 300 volunteers. But seriously, I really need your help. I need your prayers. This is going to be a short election, and my opponent doesn't have a clue what is needed in this district to protect the families. This is one of the major components right here. This right here, our Second Amendment. And as a pastor of 21 years, when the First Amendment goes, the only thing that can bring it back is the Second Amendment. So we are here, and I'm asking for your prayers. And I'm also asking for your money. See, I'm a good politician, right? Okay. But pray for us, because this is a chance to make this district transcend party lines and bring all people together, unite us as one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Not some people, not the elite, not a few, but for all people. This is our opportunity. Let's send a message right now to Virginia and say not just a red wave for the Republican Party or a blue wave, but red with the blood of Jesus. It's time to bring our values back home again, and this is our opportunity. Are you with me? I said, are you with me, Virginia? VCDL. Let's pray for Philip and Pat, because they got a job to do. They got to get rid of these red flag laws and all this universal background checks and all this stuff trying to take away our rights to defend ourselves. We must pray for them. GOA and everyone else that is standing for our rights. Now, when I go to D.C., remember me. And you'll have access to me whether you're Republican or Democrat. It doesn't matter. Independent, because it's not about the people. My opponent won't even debate me because they think in debate is about the candidates. Debating is about the voters. They need to know where you stand and what issues so they can intelligently make a decision on election day. Here we are. Now, you know, I can go on and on and on. But let's right now pray that VCDL will be in every single home, not just in Virginia, but across these United States of America. Let's believe that every citizen should know their rights to defend themselves and to protect themselves against foreign and domestic. I was in the military and I served. Any military people out here, by the way? Military veterans? God bless you. I served in the Gulf Wars. I served in Desert Shield, Desert Storm on the John F. Kennedy. And I'm telling you, I didn't care what color you were, as long as they knew how to use that weapon. I wasn't worried about what color you were. I wasn't worried about what race, all that kind of crazy stuff. We got to get back to being human again. Human. We are mud huts that God put his spirit in to show forth his glory in the earth. So I'm going to blow the spirit back out to you, because if some of y'all are dead, it's time to come alive again. Come alive to your rights. Come alive to what is owed to you, what is due to you. So Father, I thank you for Philip. I thank you, Lord, for VCDL. Have your way. Allow us as congressmen, as Senate or House, whatever politician, allow us to care about the people again. We thank you. It's in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost. In Jesus' name. God bless you all. God bless this Commonwealth of Virginia. And God bless these United States of America. Thank you so much.
Well, we have a couple of candidates that are going to have a chance to speak, and I apologize, Philip. It's tough going after that. I really, I tried not to do that myself. No, I'm not putting him at the front. No way. Black preacher, forget it. You cannot handle it. So Philip Hamilton is going to speak to you. He's running.
Philip, can I say something? I forgot. My website is Benjamin4Congress.com. I always forget that. Thank you, Philip.
Let's hear the website.
So Philip Hamilton is representing the Charlottesville area, and I'm going to let him speak a little bit. Very pro-gun. He was there helping fight Albemarle when they were passing their local gun control. He and I stood side by side as we fought that.
Well, welcome, folks. Hey! You know what? 2 years ago, I ran the 57th House of Delegates district in Charlottesville. And I was actually the first Republican to run in 16 years. I say that again, 16 years at that time. And it's time that we mobilize and we go on the front lines at these radically blue districts in Virginia. Now this time I'm running for Virginia Senate in the 11th. So I'll be running against Deeds or Delegate Sally Hudson, whoever wins the Democratic primary later this year. But that consists of Nelson County, Amherst County, Almore County, Charlottesville City, and the western side of Louisa County. Now, I believe in constitutional carry. I'm a descendant of George Mason IV on my mother's side of the family. And if we look back at the founding of our nation, George Mason was part of the Virginia Declaration of Rights. He drafted that document that the First Amendment is based off of. Now we have the Second Amendment. It wasn't the 10th Amendment of the Bill of Rights. It was the second, one of the most important ones that we have. And Patrick Henry, he would not support the Constitution unless we had a Bill of Rights. The same man who gave me the "Give me liberty" or "Give me death" speech, he would not support the Constitution without the Bill of Rights. And think about it. New York, back at the time, was waiting on the sidelines. They weren't going to vote to ratify the Constitution until they saw what Virginia was going to do. So there was many debates between James Madison and Patrick Henry, but once James Madison agreed to the Bill of Rights, then Patrick Henry threw his hat in the ring and said, we're going to ratify this Constitution. But over 200 years onwards, we have a government that doesn't respect the Second Amendment. We have people who are advocating for gun control. What is the strongest deterrent against a socialist, Marxist, tyrannical government? The Second Amendment. Look at what's happening in China. Look at what's happening in other countries that don't have a Second Amendment. Look at the COVID restrictions that they're having. There were riots in China because they had people in the apartment complex and they had a fire and several of them died. I think it was 50 plus people who died. But it's because they didn't have guns to stand up to the communist regime of China. We would never allow what happened in China to happen here in America. And that's why this fight is so essential. We must have constitutional carry here in Virginia. And we need to have a majority in the Virginia Senate so that way we can pass this. Now, thank God we have a majority in the House of Delegates, but there is work to be done. And that's why I'm taking the fight to the Virginia Senate. You can find me on Facebook for Hamilton for Senate. You can email me at hamiltonforvasenate@gmail.com. And one last thing I want to mention too is that I was at the Lee Jackson Day celebration last weekend in Lexington. Now there's a petition for the New Market battlefield. Now due to quote unquote COVID restrictions, they said, well, we can't have reenactments anymore. And this is of Union and Confederate soldiers who are honoring veterans. Come to me and sign this petition. Let's reopen reenactments that has been going on since 1914. This is the oldest reenactment site in the country, and it's absolutely ridiculous that they have shut it down. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, briefly, we have Lance Allen.
Hey, y'all all right? Everybody awake? Woo! But listen, I tried to get a sticker, but it's too big. Wouldn't fit. Hey, listen, my name is Lance Allen. I'm running for State Senate in District 1. If you're not first, you're last, for those who like a good Ricky Bobby reference. Hey, listen, a couple of things I want to say to everyone. I ran for Lieutenant Governor last year, and the biggest compliment that I got when I came out today was people that I didn't recognize who recognized me for showing up, right? Where are our statewide candidates now? They were good to jump on TV. They were good to get out in front of us when they wanted our 2A vote, right? When they wanted the nomination. But where are they today? Where are your VCDL? Where are your 2A legislators wearing your buttons and your stickers? They're too busy. They're inside their offices hiding, right? Here's what I'm trying to tell you. The Democrats are the excuse that we use time after time for the things that we cannot get done. Republicans, rhinos, hide behind that time after time. Oh, we can't submit that bill because the Democrats will kill it. Oh, we can't do this because the Democrats will kill it. Phil is absolutely right. We took back 3 statewide offices and we took back the House of Delegates. And then what happened? Every Republican that was worth a damn hid behind the fact that the Democrats control the Senate. And I don't care, because if you want to do the right thing, you do it over and over and over and over, no matter what. And you show up time after time after time. Is it cold? Yeah. Did they shut the square down? Yeah. Does it matter? No. Our rights are our rights, and they were God-given, and they are important. So here's what I'm going to tell you. You've got a very important election coming up. You've got the House of Delegates, and you got the State Senate. Don't give them any more excuses to hide behind the Democrats. Start voting Republican. Get out and help them now. The last thing that I want to tell you is you use Lobby Day and you use every day that God gives you to fight for your God-given rights, and you hold their feet to the fire. When someone like Jason Miyares walks in a crowd of VCDL members, you say you were there at Lobby Day. Why aren't we holding you accountable? What are you doing? That's what you do. When you see Glenn Youngkin walk out of the governor's mansion, you don't pat yourself on the back because you got a Republican governor. You go, what have you done for me? Because I'm the one who pays your check. That's what you do. You show up every day.
I was told I had 3 minutes to speak. Now I hear I've got a minute to speak. But it is important because you've heard today about the importance of lobbying. You've heard how important it is to show up and talk to politicians. But there's another component that people forget, and that is the courts. You need to remember what the courts have done and what they're going to do, because gun owners breathed a massive sigh of relief with the Supreme Court's decision this past year. They thought that the fight was over when Brune was decided, and Brune was important. New York State Rifle Pistol Association versus Brune, an incredible decision. It's given us an important tool in our toolbox. It's something that we can use when we go into court to fight unconstitutional laws. But mind you, the fight is not over in the courts. Because when you pay attention to what the courts do, when you start watching the way judges handle these cases, what you'll see is that they're going to start shifting tactics. No longer do they want to argue about the true meaning of the Second Amendment, because we've got them on their heels when we talk about the meaning of the Second Amendment. Now, they're going to try to find other ways to avoid these courts. They're going to try to find other ways to keep these matters from being litigated. We're going to be fighting about standing. We're going to be fighting about mootness. We're going to be fighting about a variety of things. And you need to pay attention to the courts, and you need to support the organizations that are supporting these litigation efforts. Thank you so much for being out here today.
Yeah!